Okay, guys, I'm going to talk to you about squat depth and how low should you squat. Well, first and foremost, it depends on how you're built, and it depends on your goals, what you're going to strive for, what you're aiming to get out of your squat, what you're chasing. I wrote down 3 different types of squats based on their squat depth and foot placement. First, the powerlifting squat. Second, the ass to grass squat, where your butt's almost touching the ground. And the partial squat, where you're not quite going parallel, about 60 degrees. Now, first I'm going to talk about the powerlifting squat. First, the powerlifting squat, typically you put your feet a little bit wider for most people. You go down a little bit lower than parallel. Some people might put their feet closer if they're stronger, if they're more quadricep dominant, and go down like this. Kind of brace their core and push their stomach out against their quadriceps. The benefits of the powerlifting style squat. The benefits of it translates into more strength activities. It mocks a lot more movements, such as a lot of strongman activities, such as tire flipping, stone lifting, and it uses more of your body than the other two. It targets your nervous system more, in other words. And for maximum strength, that's what you want. Now, you can do it if you're an Olympic lifter too, if you have overdeveloped quadriceps, meaning that your knees might go in because they're not quite stable enough, because your foundation isn't complete, because your hips and glutes are lacking control. So you can do it if you're an Olympic lifter too, and more variation is cool too. You have more tools in your toolbox if something else goes bad, or if you're just simply bored with the current exercise you're doing, or you're not making progress anymore, you can try a different one, which is always good too. Me personally, I've tried like 300 different exercises, and I think I'm decently strong. Now, to know if you have overdeveloped quadriceps, that's if your Zercher squat or front squat is more than 85% of your regular squat. I prefer the Zercher squat. That's just how I feel. And while you're doing these two, you're probably going to be a power lifter. I'd advise just basically going to parallel, usually. Because if you go lower, that'll offset the percentages. But if you, for example, you squat 300 powerlifting style with a belt, if you do over 255 in the Zercher squat or front squat, then yes, you have overdeveloped quadriceps. So, well, if you're an Olympic lifter, in other words, then that's when you utilize the powerlifting squat, and it requires less mobility than the ass to grass squat. More people can do it. I mean, you can ask people, hey, just ask random people, can you squat all the way down? Most of the time their ankles will come up off the ground. So, and again, it's another variation for Olympic lifters. Now the ass to grass squat. It helps you for Olympic lifting because you're catching the bar in a lower position, because whenever they power clean, it's better, whenever you power clean, when you lift it up to here, you aren't going to be as strong, or even here. That's why they sink down all the way into an ass to grass position. That's also why they practice front squats with a clean grip where the hands are under the bar. That's why they kind of practice front squats. Of course, I don't like front squats, but they practice front squats because it's like they're doing a power clean. Mocks it. But they help you go under, so you're lifting the bar you're lifting the bar, you're not lifting the bar as far, which a smaller movement, you're going to be able to do more weight. Just like if I'm curling a dumbbell, I'll be able to curl a lot more like this instead of like this. So that's why they do it. They need to be stronger and a fuller range of motion at the bottom portion of the lift. That's why they also do pause bottom squats. Pause ass to grass, where you pause at the bottom like this, then you come up. But you can do it if you have hip issues from squatting like this too much, because this targets your hip and butt more. You can do it if you have some hip issues, which commonly happens in powerlifters. Their quadriceps tend to be underdeveloped. Now, if you're to know if your quadriceps are underdeveloped, if your Zercher or front squat is 75% or less than your total squat, example, if you squat 300 pounds, if your front squat or Zercher squat is under 225, then you got underdeveloped quadriceps most likely, or a weak core. Either way, you're going to have some things to work on. And if you work on those issues, that will translate into a stronger Olympic squat. It'll translate into all your lifts will be stronger. The ass to grass squat does require more mobility, and that means less people will be able to do it. And again, it's another variation for powerlifters if you get bored. But remember, don't do variations. Don't focus on variations too much right before a meet, like 4 weeks. Don't focus on them too much. So like within 4 weeks of a meet, that's time to be focusing on like 5 and 3 reps. That like last week before, that's when you're going to practice your 1 rep maxes for powerlifting. Too bad at Godly High School I go to, you don't have time really to do that. Your meets are 2 weeks apart. So now the partial squat, that is my opinion best for power development and shown by many professional broad jumpers across the world. But that's where you only squat down, you put your feet closer, but you only squat down to like this much. Just like in broad jump, you're only gonna go just like this much, and you're just gonna jump. See, when you do a broad jump, you never see anybody, hey, I'm gonna jump now. They're never squatting all the way up there. They only go about right here and release. I'm wearing terrible shoes for this. But it's best for power development, which if it's good for power development, that means you're not going to be using a lot of weight. You're typically going to stay within 30 to 70% range. Like me personally, at the time when I was squatting like a 400 powerlifting style, I like to use like 225 for this. That's what felt comfortable for me. It helped bring up my box jump and broad jump. And it can help you with sprinting, because again, it's helping that power develop through your hips. Now, your goal is speed. That doesn't mean cram a whole bunch of weight on the bar. And when people ask you what your squat is, it's they don't want you to tell them I squat 600 pounds and you only go 3 inches down. It's kind of disrespectful to a lot of professional powerlifters that work their asses off to squat 600 pounds, and then this nobody to them comes around and says, oh, I do that easy. And then they're just looking at him knowing he can't. Any powerlifter that squats 600 pounds can usually tell someone else's strength by looking at them. They can kind of tell, not 100% accurate, but they know if you can squat 600 or not. And if they see you and you go 2 or 3 inches down there, they won't even hang out with you. They just won't like you. But the thing is, if you tell them the truth, oh dude, I only squat 255, and that the powerlifter squat's like 400, he'll probably give you some tips on how to increase your squat. So if you're just honest with these people, they'll be happy to help you. I mean, I've had plenty of people come up to me with guys of huge egos tell me they squat 400 pounds, and I know they don't. It's happened quite a lot. But now, if you're not really looking for the power, partial squats like on a rack, like a squat rack, things that protect you, the pins, you can put a bar up, you can already have it set up, pretend I have an imaginary squat rack here, and then you can start from where you're weak at and just bam. It can even be from right here, bam. Or it can be like an Anderson squat where you start from right here and bam. Just you don't have to do the dorky bams though. Me personally, I like doing as many squat variations as I can because I get bored easily doing the same lift over and over again. So every squat I just talked about, I do every one of them. Every one. I don't like the front squat, but I occasionally do it. I prefer the Zercher squat. You get the same benefits from them. But that's all for today. Have a good day, everyone.